All right, guys. Today I'm off to Badagry. I haven't been to Badagry in a very, very, very long time, and then I'll be checking out some tourist attractions in Badagry. I'll be staying at the Whispering Palms. Yeah, haven't been there. I've heard so much about it. I mean, like ever since I was a kid. The place was shut down for a while, but I hear it's back up. So I'm going to be taking a look at it, touring out some places, point of no return, whatever the case is, but I'm going to be taking you guys on this journey. So we're in Musafejo in Badagry. Nice town, not bad. The map says we have about 20 minutes or so to destination. All right, so far so good. Pretty chill and breezy here, to be honest. Not a bad place. You want to just get away from civilization, if you know what I mean. But hey, I'm going to be bringing you guys the scoop. Yeah? These are really, really nice. This is really nice. Oh, I love this already. Right there is a statue of Yemoja. I will try and get you guys a bit of history on that so I don't say the wrong thing, but whenever I can get us close, I'll do a video, okay? All right, guys. So this is actually the first primary school in Nigeria.
When Christianity came, it was Methodist St. Thomas that came. So, but then it was Reverend Birch Freeman and Henry Townsend that came. So by the time we leave this place, we are moving down to the Agiatri. That was the first point Christianity was preached in Nigeria, because that place looks like the Jerusalem of Nigeria. Okay, now let's go. The man standing before you is Mr. Kuton. He's the curator at the Agiatri. So I hand over everything over.
I welcome you to Badagry, the historical town and the ancient city. And I welcome you to Nigeria, Jerusalem, and Nigeria Holy Land. Before you go in, please read this right up before you can go in. How the Christianity came to Nigeria. So started from here. Yes, this is where they came first before distributing Christian to the whole Nigeria. They came from Britain.
From Britain. Okay.
You see what they say?
Committee in London.
Before, there is slavery in Badagry. When they released them from where they were, by then, they landed to Ivory Coast. From Ivory Coast to Badagry, that's when they got down to Badagry. So from there, this is where they are living in Badagry, called Worobe. So when the priest came, that's when he landed in Badagry. So this is the person that came first. Reverend Thomas Birch Freeman is from Wesley Methodists. Because if the white man came first, they won't listen to. Yes, because they are slavery by then. They will thought they come and catch them for slavery again. That's why he came first. Yes, because they are slavery by then. They will thought they come and catch them for slavery again. That's why he came first. 3rd month later, he joined by Reverend Henry Townsend. He's the person that brought the first Bible into this country. And this is where the Bible was opened and preached to the people before they sent it back to the Storey building, where Bishop Badagry translated the English Bible to Yoruba by then. And where you are today, this is where the Christianity started from in the whole Nigeria. You see what you are looking under there? Spreading hand. That's the Agia tree. That's where the missionaries stood and preached. And that's where the tree fell from. You see, You see one yellow one under the leaf there. That one, I planted that one on my birthday. I brought this one here, March 9, 2023. And the one you are looking under it that have yellow leaf, I planted that one on my birthday. April 14, 2023. I searched for the seed and planted it. But this one I brought it. This is the old coins before the Naira and Kobo.
Yes.
Before the new currency now.
The second queen and this is
the
second.
Yes.
All right, guys. So right now, I'm at the Badagri Heritage Museum. Wow. Let's see what this has to offer. This is humongous, guys. I mean, now look at the size.
So you're welcome to Badagri Heritage Museum, and once again you're welcome to Badagry town, so the haven of tourism. So this building was built in the year 1863. So this building, it was the office of the former Governor General of Nigeria. So in 2002, the building was converted to Badagri Heritage Museum by the present President of Federal Republic of Nigeria, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So it's not like converted. When was the governor? Thank you. When was the governor of Lagos State? So the building has about 8 to 9 galleries, and they're talking about the transatlantic slave trade. So I'm taking us inside now to explain in details. Yeah, so the museum is all about the transatlantic slave trade, and slave trade started in the year 1445, and it was abolished in the year 1888. So that is roughly 455 years, yes, of slavery. So over here is the diagram, so which shows the movement of the Europeans from Europe down to West Africa. So they take slaves from West Africa down to the West Indies. At the West Indies, the slaves work on the plantation. So crops like sugarcane, tobacco, cotton, rice, and bananas were planted. So whatever they planted will be harvested and will be taken back to Europe. In Europe, the crops are turned to finishing goods. Sugarcane to sugar, tobacco into cigarettes, cotton to textiles. So they bring those goods to Africa in exchange for more slaves. So their movement forms a triangular shape. And because they walk through the Atlantic Ocean, so they come across the title called Atlantic Triangular Slave Trade. And here, so it's called, this diagram is called Between Bahia and Bight of Benin. So most of the Yoruba slaves, they take them to Brazil. And that's why I say that most of the Yoruba cultures are practiced in Brazil, especially in Bahia. So Yoruba cultures are practiced up to the present day. And then this is a symbol used to campaign against the transatlantic slave trade. So when the slaves decide to take destiny into their hands, fighting for their freedom. Am I not a man and a brother? Is the question the slave is asking the master. And he was asking because someone like him reduced him to the level he is. So they chain the hands and the legs of the slaves, and the slave is begging for freedom. So this was in the year 1807. So between year 1640 to 1750, Europeans divide Africa into two major Guineas. We have the Upper Guinea and Lower Guinea. So Upper Guinea, we have a country called Liberia. So while the Lower Guinea was divided into 4 major coasts. Each of the coasts was named after what they discovered. First coast is Grain Coast, and the Grain Coast is Sierra Leone, Senegal, Gambia, Guinea. Ivory Coast, Cote d'Ivoire. Gold Coast, Ghana, and the Slave Coast is Nigeria. The Europeans and African chiefs used different objects in exchange for slaves. Objects like mirrors, umbrella, copper bars, ceramic bowl, Dane gun, cannon gun, whiskey. So one umbrella during slavery was used in exchange for 25 slaves or 40 slaves. So here we have the exploits of Mansa Musa of Mali. So the richest man ever in history. So the man that has the assets of $400 billion in gold. So it's considered to be the richest in modern history to today. So no one is as rich as he is. So this man bought 5,000 slaves. This man bought 5,000 slaves, took all the slaves to Mecca. So when they were going, all the slaves carried basket of gold on their head. So he came back, set all the slaves free, and then give the slave gold. This man, anywhere the man passed through, and then for example, if he's going to, let me just say he's going to Ekpe, then he passed through Maitu. All their gold business in that Maitu will crash down. Why? Because instead of them to be buying gold, he was busy giving gold to anyone. So it's considered to be the richest today in history. So these are the white slaves. So the white slaves shows that not only the Africans were taken as slaves. So slavery is a global business. So they also were enslaved from other parts of the world. So the place they captured the white slaves from, so they are not specified. They don't know where they were captured from. They just know that, okay, before the European came to Africa, we have a means of enslaving in Africa. So even while they are enslaving in Africa, they're also doing slavery in other parts of the world. So these are the Greeks now. So these are the Greeks taking the whites as slaves, and then these are the Arabs taking the whites as slaves. So that shows that slavery is what they practice globally. Then this is the trans-Sahara slave trade, the first that we practiced in Africa before the arrival of the European. So this one, it was free and fair because you can easily buy your freedom. Any state can buy their freedom and then become whatever they wish to become. So these are the weapons used in slave raiding. These are real weapons used in slave raiding. So they were used to raid. So they used them for war to get slaves. So the weapons are the iron sword and the Dane guns. These are the real guns. So these guns now, they are over 400 years. So then these are the chains. These are the real chains used on the slaves. So we have the neck chains for the male, the neck chains for the females, the neck chain for the babies. So the iron you are seeing, this knife you are seeing here, is among those chains. The sharp object in that among those chains, the sharp object there, so it's what they used to write the names of the slave masters. So, and then this is the separation of the families. The same families are not sold to the same masters. They were sold to different slave masters. So this is how they inspect the slaves. So this is how they inspect the slaves. They check the slaves if they are strong and fit to work for the masters on the plantation. And these are the rejected slaves. So these ones they rejected, they are called the macaroons. So not that they are not the master that started them like this. So this is where they are captured. So they are captured like this. And when they are rejected, they were killed immediately. So they sold 300 slaves every 7 days at the slave market in Badagry. So, and they established the market in the year 1502. So these are some of the items used in exchange for slaves. So items like whiskey, places like Niger Delta. So there is one of this whiskey in exchange for either 2 men or 10 women. So these are cowrie used in exchange for about 5 slaves. And then these are manillas, bracelets, used in exchange for about 2, 3, 4, or 10 slaves. Then that white object is called tobacco pipe. So they give to the local chiefs and the chiefs give them slaves in return. So this is the marching of the slaves to the point of no return. So they march them on a straight line. And anyone that falls among the slave, so the master will beat the slave to get up. And if the slave was unable to get up, they cut off the head of the slaves, remove their chains and continue their journey. So these are the slave facilitators, the slave dealers. So here is a man called Prince Henry the Navigator. So Navigator is the man who explored the West African coast, the Portuguese. So this is the person that started the transatlantic slave trade. And here is a man called called Felix de Souza, who was a major slave dealer, buying and selling slaves for 30 good years in Wida. So we have the African dealers too. So like in the case of Lagos, we have Kosoko of Lagos. So he was one of the prominent slave dealers doing the transatlantic slave trade. Yes. We have Alaafin Abiodun. So we have Efunshoto Anigura. So these are prominent dealers doing slavery. And this is a city in England called Bristol City, built with all the wealth from slavery in the year 1894. So behind you, we have the slave advertisement. So they also advertise the slaves. So they place the slave on different adverts. So there's one there to be sold and let by public auction on Monday, 18th of May, 1829, under the trees. So the slaves are Hannibal, William, and Nancy. So and then we have gang of 25C Island, cotton and rice Negroes, and these to be sold a cargo of 94 prime-headed Negroes. So they have 39 men, 15 boys, 24 women, 16 girls, just arrived from Sierra Leone. And of course, they do sell the slaves on Black Fridays. The black to be sold on Friday. They do their Black Friday sales every 3rd Friday of every November. See the real document of the Black Friday?
Yes, please.
So, wow. Seriously? Sorry, please. I need to. What do you do?
Is this not the real document?
Wow.
This is the slave drinking pots. So on the plantation, they used to put water for the slaves. And all the slaves surround the pots, put their mouths or use their hands to scoop water from the pot. So the drinking is survival of the fittest. Because once the water finishes from the pot will not be refilled the next day. And the slaves are not even sure if they can drink water the next day. So that's why they struggle and make sure they get water. So while fighting for water, they get caught by the edge of the pot and their blood goes into the water. So with the blood, they still continue drinking. So this is the cannon gun. So during slavery, there is this object, this cannon gun, in exchange for 100 slaves. So the ship has 2 decks. It has the upper deck and the lower deck. So upper deck for the masters and the lower deck for the slaves. So the same position, the slaves urinate and defecate, and they died every day. So when the ship becomes too heavy, they throw some of the slaves inside the ocean to make the ship become lighter. So here is a dog catching a runaway slave. If a slave is trying to escape, so they set dogs to go after the slaves, and the dogs were trained to cut off the jugular, the throat of the slaves, so to kill them immediately. And there are different punishments given to the slaves on the plantation. So like the hanging of the slave, the beheading of the slaves. At times, if they see that, because there's something that we call the fugitive, those are the stubborn slaves. So once they escape and they capture them again, they call them, look for a very long iron, put it into the fire. So when the iron becomes wet and hot, they put it into the anus of the slaves. So these are different punishments. And these are the slaves revolting, taking destiny into their hands. So killing their masters and fighting for their freedom. So this is a woman called Margaret Garner. So she was a slave. And as a slave, she gave birth to 4 children. After giving birth, she didn't want her children to become a slave like her. So she quickly poisoned her children. She also killed herself too. That she preferred to die with her kids than to live as a slave. And these are the advertisement for reward. For anyone that found the runaway slaves, they were given different rewards. So these are the reward they give to the person that found the runaway slave. So there are different rewards. So we have 2 categories of slaves. So we have the domestic slaves and the plantation slaves. So domestic are the slaves that work in the house for their masters. So these are domestic slaves. These are Mr. and Mrs. Newton Nutter. So these ones were forced to get married. After getting married, they reproduce and give birth to more slaves. So the child of a slave also become a slave. And these are slaves that work on different plantations. So some of them are working on the cotton plantations, the maize plantations, the tobacco and the sugarcane plantation. And for the slaves that work on the sugarcane plantation, they are not allowed to eat or talk to one another. So they have to cover their mouth for 18 hours. So these are the slave returnees. When they stop slavery, some slaves return back home. So we call them the returnees. So we have the likes of Ajayi Crowther. So the person that was in charge of the English Bible to Yoruba, yes. And then we have Candido J. Darocha. So Sholoto Darocha. So this is the person that bears Darocha. Though he was a slave, so he was captured from Egba land. So he's a Yoruba man. So he was captured from Egba land. So his birth name, when they gave birth to him, was Idowu. It was because they were twins. So his birth name was when they gave birth to him was Idowu. So when they got to plantation, it was sold to a Portuguese. So the Portuguese was now given the one that named him Candido Jackson Darocha. So from there, he became a domestic slave. So from domestic slave, he get another promotion to town slave. Before you can gain access to become a town slave, so the master might have trusted you very well. So he became a town slave. From being a town slave, gained his freedom, and then came back to Africa and then become the richest among the slave returnees. So he's the first did the person that used to barb his hair in Nigeria, then go to Spain or Brazil to put pattern. So these are some of the Brazilian architectural designs. So they are brought by some of those slaves that returned when they stopped slavery. So some slaves that returned back home, so they are experienced at the New World. So like the CMS Church, the Shitabe Central Mosque, and the Holy Cross Cathedral. So those are the Brazilian architectural design. So these are drums called sator drums. Sator are twin drums used during special occasions in Badagry. So the drums are beaten with a stick called a gida. So they are beaten by orphans, and originally they are beaten once in a year. So they dance around the drum, jump and hit the drum. So they are 7 to 8 feet tall from the ground. And the drums are beaten to what because of steel beds from the community. So steel beds are what Yoruba call abiku. So this is a masquerade called Zangbeto masquerade. Zangbeto is a masquerade in Badagry used for security and entertainment. It's a cult. The cult mentor is called Zanga. Until today in Badagry, the masquerade is still respected even than the Nigerian police. Yes. So the slave brings water from this well. After drinking, they lose their memories. But the person that fetches water for the slave is an African chief priest. So the priest takes some condition into the water before giving to the slave to drink. So but now the water is a natural water. So nothing was added to the water. It's a natural water. So this is a chief in Badagry called Chief Jenge of Badagry. Whenever there's lack of slave, this chief here sell people in Badagry into slavery. One day he was also picked and was sold to go and experience slavery. So he was sold into slavery as well. And these are Badagry site attractions. So this is the first Catholic settlement in Nigeria, which is Tokpo Island. So we have the Slave Market Museum, the seat of the Cannon Dawn, Slave Jetty, Point of No Return, the first story building in Nigeria, the Brazilian Baracoon. And these are Badagry native occupations like the mat weaving, basket weaving, coconut farming and marketing, boat carving and fishing is one of the major occupations in Badagry. And this is a street in Badagry in 1889 and Badagry in 2019. Badagry before and Badagry now. So I remember myself, Hundeyi Isiaq Olamide.
All right, guys, let's take a pause for a minute now. I'd really like you guys to just get into the comment section and write your opinions and thoughts on what you have seen so far. Black Friday, the slave trade. How different really is it from what is happening now? So where would you like me to visit next? You just never know. It might be your neighborhood. Put it in the comment section. Let's get back to the tour, guys. And guys, all the history and all of that has just been learned here today. It's extremely mind-blowing, to be honest. Slaves, slave trading, what the slaves went through. I mean, everything is Black Friday, raffle draws. I mean, all of this is gradually making a lot of sense right now. And, I think it's just, some food for thought. Crazy things going on today. And I guess this is really where it started. We're here at the first story building in Nigeria. Wow.
This building, this very one, that building we are standing right now, is currently younger than few people here. Okay, younger than all of us. Because the building is standing now for just 180 years sharp. So we have 6 bedrooms in this building, 2 living rooms and 4 stores. This house was owned by the missionaries from CMS, Church Missionary Society, which was a society under the Church of, or is a society under the Church of England, Anglican Communion, and currently owned by the Church of Nigeria, Anglican Communion. Now, this roof from 1842 called corrugated sheet. This corrugated iron has been here since then, and it is currently 182 years old in this compound, actually. Not talking about when it was produced, but in this compound, 182 years old. We still have at least 60% of this covering the building till today. Now, we have this door hinge, which was used to mount the doors to the building. Yeah, this is how small it is. It's very small. It's not very, very light too. Do you care to lift it? It's very light. Can you see it's not heavy at all? Yeah, this is a brick from 1842 too, burnt brick. This wood is also from 1842, and all these materials are currently 182 years. Yes, they are in the yard. And we still have at least 40% of this very wood covering the deck of the building till today. This is the map of this compound that's at 1843, and this is where the school started from, which is the first primary school in Nigeria. The school started with the enrollment of 40 young men, and the school today is currently known as St. Thomas Primary School, which is the first primary school in Nigeria. The first teacher of the school was Mr. Claudius Philip, who happens to be in that room. But the school started here. No, at some point in Nigeria, when they are trying to give priority to younger generation to be enrolled in school, they will ask you to pass your hand across your head. Oh yeah, let's do that. Let's see who can enroll in school. We have the rice plantation and the vegetable. And this rice plantation was the first rice plantation in Nigeria. Let me just tell you another story again, that sometimes in Nigeria, an average man eats rice once in a year. That is just during Christmas period. This is the first Bible in Nigeria, the first known Bible in Nigeria. And this Bible was brought in 1842 December, and it is currently 182 years. Now, Bishop Badagry Crowder in this room completed the translation of the Yoruba Bible in 1845, and the Bible was completely printed in London that same year, and a combined printed copy was brought to Badagry in 1846, and this is the copy brought to Badagry, which this copy is the first known Yoruba Bible in the world, and it is currently 79 years. Badagry Crowder became the first bishop of our West Africa in 1864, which also makes him the first black bishop of the Church of England, Anglican Communion, and later led the translation of the Bible into 3 other languages like Efik, Nupe, and Igbo languages before his death in 1891. Who preached the first sermon of Christianity in Badagry, and the sermon was preached under a tree called Agia Tree on the 24th of September 1842, which marks the beginning of Christianity in Nigeria, And this man was from the Methodist Church. Christmas was actually celebrated in Badagry last year for the 182nd time in Badagry. And this is the man in charge of construction, Reverend Charles Andrew Goldman, shortened as Reverend C.A. Goldman, who led the construction of this house from 1842 to 1845. And he was also the pastor of the church in Badagry, which means he stayed in Badagry longer than this man here. We have the image of the church he pastored in 1843, and this church is the first Anglican church in Badagry and Nigeria. Now we have this wooden chair which has been here since 1878, and it is the last surviving furniture of this house, which makes it currently 146 years. So this is the cemetery where most of them were buried, because few of them died of malaria and others were killed in Badagry. So they were buried here in this cemetery, which is today known as the Early Missionary Cemetery. This very floor in this room here are just recent. They were just new woods. They were changed few years ago, and they were just changed in 1842. Yeah, this is the first currency in Nigeria called cowrie shell. Now this is the second currency in Nigeria called Manila. Yeah, the shilling
Not the museum,
and the penny.
the town hall, yeah.
So these are the currency we used up till 1973, before the Naira and Kobo was introduced. And this is the British currency, not Nigeria currency. Because we were colonized by Britain, so we used their currency from 1889 up till 1973. This water here is the only drinkable water in this community. It was renamed because over time people come here, fetch from the well and use the water for prayer, for spiritual purpose. And most of them return to share their testimonies of prayer answer. That was why tourists decided the well should be renamed Miracle Well. This is where the first Anglican church started from. You see prayer, if you come earlier, you have seen prayer requests dropped here every day. People coming from different areas. Not just Christians alone, people from other religion come here to pray too.
All right, so just leaving the first story building in Nigeria, and man, history. Whew. History. And yet some people are actually saying history should be removed from the classroom. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? So basically what happens here is when the slaves are brought to this point, it just means they don't ever get to come back home. That's it. Anyone who falls sick on the way or something gets tossed in the ocean.
My name is Damilare, so I'm your guide in the museum. So the compound we are is called Brazilian Baracoon, and this is the spelling. So Baracoon is a Spanish word for slave cell. The compound here served as the cell, and this is the man that owned the compound. His birth name was Ifare Milepun, but because he was a slave, his name changed to Seriki William Sabas. And the reason is because slaves don't bear names. They bear the master's name or the name the master wished to give them. So when he was 6, he was captured by a black man named Abbas. 6 years. He was captured during the Egba and Dahomey War. So he was taken down to Dahomey, known today as Benin Republic. He was working as a domestic slave then, before he was sold to Williams, a white man from Brazil. Williams took him to Brazil and also used him as a domestic slave, but later he decided to use him for the trade. So first he sent him to school, and after he graduated, he gave him a condition. And the condition for his freedom was for this man to be buying and sending the slave to his master. So he was going to use him as a middleman. And because he was a slave, he accepted, and the man built this compound for him. We have 40 rooms in the compound, and they kept 40 slaves in each of the rooms. So the minimum of slaves kept here was 1,600, and they were being led out from the compound every 3 to 4 months through the port over there, across the lagoon to the point of no return where the slave ship will be waiting for them. He accepted, and he did it until the trade was abolished in 1888. The last name he had, Seriki, was a title given to him, which means head of the Muslims. Until date, the family still maintains the title of a Seriki. So after the trade was abolished, he founded 2 towns for the displaced people that had no place to go. He founded Idogo and Ayetoro town in Ogun State in 1902. We get to the roundabout now, you'll be seeing this statue there. That's where the picture was taken. And at your back, we have some of the items used in exchange of slaves. So these items were exchanged for slaves. We have an umbrella. The value was 40 slaves. So the value of one umbrella was 40 slaves, and we still have the surviving umbrella here. The cannon, the big one for 100, while the small one for 40. A gin for 10 slaves. While the mirror and the bead, they have to bargain or negotiate. Ceramic bowl for 10 slaves and the gun for 40 slaves. So when he became the chief, he was given a kettle and the brass dish as a gift, and the value were also 10 slaves each. The family of the man, they occupy some of the rooms in this compound. If you look at your bag, those parts were all for slaves, and these rooms were all for slaves then. But today, the family converted it to living rooms. And if you look at them, you see bigger windows and door. But then, there was no window. It was just a little ventilation inside the cell, the door. There was no window at the front. And it looks like 2 rooms. So we are going to go in, but maybe we'll split. So this is where the slaves drink water from. For those that stay in this compound, they drink from here just once in a day. This well was dug in 1847. And the family that stay here, they still use the well. They use it for cooking, They use it for cooking and bathing and washing. And the compound was built in 1840, so it's 185 years old. And that's the court over there. Let's go. He was buried beside his father. This one died in 1987. He was born in 1913, so he was 74 when he died. And the father was buried when he died in 1919, June 11th.
So what does it feel like to be a descendant of this man?
I would not say too great. It's not great and it's not bad. But mostly we get hate comments around, people feel like he did a bad thing and they're not happy. It's not like we're proud of what he did. So that's why we put out a public apology for the public. The family is sorry for what the father did. we the descendants of Seriki Williams Abbas regret and we are very sorry for the role and involvement of Seriki Ifaremi Williams Abbas in the transatlantic slave trade in West Africa, either by force or by choice. We are very sorry. Signed, the family.
All right, so right now we're heading to the point of no return. Apparently, right in these waters here, you had slaves that were sick, injured, for one reason or the other, tossed in here. It's gruesome, but it just speaks volumes about the realities of those that came before us. And you know the weird thing? What's happening these days in some areas isn't too far off. All right, so behind me is where we just came from. That's just about what, 10-minute ride or something. So we're going into the town.
When you look at the write-up on this signboard, it's talking about journey to unknown destination. That means we have never got to the point of no return. This is just the beginning of the journey, down to the point of no return. But now is point of return. Before they start the journey down to the point of no return, I mean during the slave era, the same way you guys cross down here, the same way the slaves also are brought down to this island. But the difference between you and them is you put on clothes, shoe and whatever, but they walk naked. There is a chain on their neck, hand, leg. So they don't have freedom, but we have freedom today. And before they move them down to that place, they used to assemble them here. Based on, they use paddle boat, not engine boat. And the small boat cannot move them at the same time. They need to do it batch by batch. That means they will be assembled them here while the small boat will go for another set of the slave. Then after packing them finished, they need to rearrange them by rearranging, like they putting the chain back to each other. The chain have long one and the short one. During the slave era, no one is living on this island. It's a thick forest. So they need to manage the pathway that they made for them. So the narrow way and the long chain made them be on a single file. Then many of them die along the way, while many of them survive the journey down to the point of no return. So some die through hunger, some die through stress, some die through wild animal, while some die through the slave merchant. Then we have 3 stopover. This is a starting point. At the middle of the road, we have another one called Spirit Attenuation Well, where they used to wipe the memory away. We'll soon get there now. Then the last point over there called Point of No Return, where they have departure from Africa down to any country that the merchant decide. Normally, different times, when we are doing the work, people used to complain, oh my God, when are we going to got there? So I used to remind them that along the way, slaves don't complain. They didn't have that no time to complain. Even they have it in mind to say it, their mouth have been already padlocked. So, and we are working free, and we are still complaining. Why slaves? They work with chain on their body, that heavy chain, and no time to complain. They have to endure.
So when you say wipe the memory away, I mean, what does that supposed to mean? Is it this place?
It is you. This is where.
That's where they actually wipe their memories away.
Watch your head.
So
Watch your head.
How did that really happen?
Actually, I told you when we were going down to the point of no return, they work on a single file,
Okay.
while the padlock is on their mouth. Then, along that single file, when they got here, they need to stop them here.
Okay.
Then, reassemble them.
Yes.
Then they will need to open the padlock from their mouth. Why those slaves will be they will be happy that those white men, they have human feeling, they want to help them.
Yes.
But not knowing that it's an agreement between the white and the black. So they have already added some things into this well, this water. I call it African magic. I call it African magic, but it's not magic, it's a sham. They sham the well already. So they add some things. Then after that, they also make some incantation into the water that make the water turn to spirit water. And the only thing they want the water to do on them is to make them forget where they're coming from. Not to remember whatever they did to them in Africa. Or after when they gain their freedom, they cannot be able to trace back to Africa. Managing their language. So that many slaves over there. Then along the way back to Africa, so like I told you, when they were coming, they walked through the narrow way. So when they got here, no any other way they can go through than to manage through these two poles. And these two poles is the main point of no return. It has been here for a long time ago. Apart from the building that you saw at the back, the building is not here then. So once they cross these two poles, next thing is to march them down to the seashore, where they will now reassemble them like the first place. Then the big ship need to be anchoring on the sea across the wave. And that small boat is there, taking them into the big ship. So after packing them finished, then the big ship take up to where it's going to.
All right, guys, so this has been one super duper enlightening, informative, educative, and eye-opening trip so far. You really can't wipe away history, no matter how hard you try. You know, and when you get the opportunity to take these routes and hear from the guys who do this every day, it's a deep reminder of the realities of those who were before us and the sacrifices they made for us. None of them had a hand in anything. Well, I mean, actually, you know, thinking about it, some of them actually had a hand, because you had those who compromised to trade off their own fellow brothers and sisters, you know? And over what? Mirrors, whiskey, umbrellas. Crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. But we learn every day, and yeah. I'm so glad I made this trip. This is Badagry and the slave journey like you've not seen it before. Thanks guys for tuning in. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. See you on the next one.